Batman and Superman, two of the comic industry's biggest titans, have slugged it out within the panels of the graphic novels and on the silver screen, but now they're squaring off in this Cygnus Destroyer review. The Justice League founders have been featured in multiple video games over the years, but I'm going to focus specifically on two of their lesser known titles, starting with the NES Superman. No, not that one. My friends, let me introduce you to the Man of Steel's unreleased prototype.
Nintendo enthusiasts of the 8-bit era should already be familiar with the infamous 1987 Kemco cash grab, but there was originally going to be a second stab at the franchise produced by none other than Sunsoft. Yes, the studio responsible for the legendary Batman film tie-in and Return of the Joker was re-enlisted to give us a fresh take on Clark Kent's alter ego, but DC sadly decided to sever ties in the midst of development, forcing Sunsoft to remove all traces of the license and convert the project into the aptly titled Sunman. The company continued with their efforts on completing the promising debut of the red-clad protagonist, yet in spite of nearly crossing the finish line, Sunman was ultimately cancelled and relegated to the trash bin. Luckily for us, fate intervened in 2003 when the Sunman ROM was dumped to the public, which in turn paved the way for pacnsacdave to restore the file back to its superheroic origins in 2014 with the release of Superman 2. Dave did a really good job of resurrecting this lost entry in the licensed arena, but it becomes quickly apparent why it was scrapped. The Man of Steel doesn't quite live up to his namesake, as the enemies on screen frequently overwhelm him, and the short-range punch that functions as his sole means of defense throughout the majority of the adventure leaves him vulnerable to their laser blasts and assorted attacks. The controls and core mechanics are flawed, and the repeated button mashing segment requires some form of turbo assistance, but the parallax scrolling effects, vividly detailed visuals, and kick-ass soundtrack by Hirohiko Takayama make for a pretty impressive presentation.
Superman 2 clearly has a few glaring issues that hold it back, but I consider this hack to be an overall success in spite of Sunsoft's less than stellar template. It may not be the greatest tribute to the iconic symbol of truth, justice, and the American way, but at least it's better representative of the character than this. With Supes out of the way, it's time for the Dark Knight to play, and he's returning to the NES with a crossover of epic proportions in Batman vs. Predator.
Inspired by the comic story arc of the same name, Batman vs. Predator pits the Cape Crusader against the quintessential movie monster in a brand new hack of Kabuki Quantum Fighter from pacnsacdave. The obscure HAL Laboratories gem has a vibe reminiscent of the brilliant Sunsoft Batman games, making it the perfect host for a spiritual sequel involving the billionaire crime fighter's quest to thwart the titular alien's plans for world domination. The Dark Knight fits right at home in his new surroundings as he retains his Fists of Fury and arsenal of weapons, which are switchable via the select button, and he can latch onto and leap off of aerial platforms and ledges by holding up while jumping. The 6 stages offer a decent challenge with plenty of tricky terrain that will put our side-scrolling skills to the test, and the Cape Crusader will be besieged by waves of predators, robots, and even xenomorphs along the way. Dave increased the default number of continues from 2 to 8 in order to alleviate the frustration, but obstacles such as the mid-air conveyor belts ensure that this is no stroll through the park no matter how you slice it. Fortunately, the controls are tight and responsive, so all it takes is patience and a little practice to progress the plot. Defeating the level bosses unlocks cutscenes that partially borrow elements from the beta version of the 1989 NES masterpiece, which I really appreciated, and this combined with the HR Giger-esque imagery and atmospheric soundtrack by Masako Hashimoto results in a top-notch presentation that creates the perfect mood that's sure to please fans of the respective franchises.
In this showdown between these fierce competitors, the winner by knockout is easily Batman vs. Predator. pacnsacdave continues his streak of excellence with this satisfying side-scrolling romp that's as solid as the game it was molded from. The Superman prototype, on the other hand, has too many flaws that detract from the total experience, though I'd still recommend checking it out along with its superior sibling, and I posted the relevant links to do so in the description below. Anyway, now that I've wrapped up this ROM hack battle royale, it's time to wrap up the year with a highly anticipated and heavily requested IUPG trial. Be sure to come back for that, but until then, this is Matt, aka Cygnus Destroyer, signing out.
Thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw and you want to see more, the boxes on the screen right now will lead to some more of my videos, and if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the channel by clicking on my avatar in the bottom right hand corner. Thanks again.